We could be at a financial tipping point. A new system is rising, one that puts power back in your hands instead of the hands of big banks and governments. And no, it's not a new political party. It's a new kind of money. Subscribe for interesting daily Corpito videos. The year is 2025 and you're watching this report. In this video, we'll explore what Bitcoin is, why it matters, how it works, and finally, whether it's the future of money. First off, what exactly is it? In simple terms, Bitcoin is both a digital currency and a payment system that doesn't rely on banks or governments. Think of it as cash for the internet age. You may have heard wild stories of people making or losing fortunes with Bitcoin. And while all that is true, it's only half the story because Bitcoin is actually much more than just a way to make money. Let's start with the basics. Bitcoin was created in 2009 by an unknown person or group under the alias Satoshi Nakamoto. Unlike regular money, Bitcoin isn't controlled by anyone. It's decentralized. This means that people can buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin directly with each other anywhere in the world without needing a bank or a middleman. All transactions are recorded on a public list called a blockchain. And that blockchain is protected by some of the most advanced cryptography known to man, so it's extremely safe and very difficult to tamper with. But wait a minute, how does Bitcoin actually work? To understand that, let's talk about some key features. First, Bitcoin is scarce. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins. That's it. This scarcity makes Bitcoin similar to gold, which has value because it's rare and hard to get. But Bitcoin has an even bigger advantage. Unlike gold, Bitcoin can be divided into smaller units, making it easier to use for everyday transactions. Second, Bitcoin is resistant to censorship. Your government or bank can't block your transactions like they might with regular money. Third, Bitcoin is inflation-proof. Unlike fiat currencies like dollars and euros, which can be printed endlessly, Bitcoin is not subject to inflation, meaning that its value is not tied to any government or bank. And fourth, Bitcoin gives financial freedom to billions of people who don't have access to traditional banking services, especially populations in countries like Venezuela and much of Africa. With Bitcoin, anyone with an internet connection can participate in the global economy. So that's why it matters. Now let's talk about how it works. Bitcoin runs on a technology called blockchain, which we mentioned earlier. Think of a blockchain as a public ledger that records all Bitcoin transactions. But here's the cool part. Instead of being stored in one place like a bank, the ledger is distributed among thousands of computers all over the world. This means there's no single point of failure. Also, transactions are verified by something called a hash, which is a complicated math problem that miners try to solve. Miners are basically computers that run special software to verify transactions and issue new Bitcoin. Once a group of miners agree on the validity of a transaction, it gets added to the blockchain. This process is what makes Bitcoin so secure. It's nearly impossible to hack or manipulate the system. Now, let's compare Bitcoin to traditional money. On the one hand, we have fiat money like the US dollar or the euro. This is the kind of money controlled by governments and banks. They can print more of it whenever they want, which leads to inflation. Then, on the other hand, we have gold. Gold is scarce, but it's not so easy to use because you can't really transfer it over the internet. Bitcoin combines the best of both worlds, the scarcity of gold with the digital efficiency of cash. Of course, Bitcoin is not perfect. One of the biggest criticisms is its volatility. The price swings wildly, which makes it hard to use for everyday purchases. Another criticism is scalability. Currently, the Bitcoin network can only handle about 4 to 7 transactions per second. That's much slower than Visa, which can process 24,000 transactions per second. Finally, governments hate it because they fear losing control over money. For example, China has banned Bitcoin. Looking ahead, there are some exciting developments on the horizon. First is the Lightning Network, which promises to make Bitcoin much faster and cheaper for everyday use. Second is smart contracts. This is basically a way to use Bitcoin to verify all kinds of things, like property rights, voting, and much more. Finally, there's the potential to bank the unbanked. Nearly 2 billion people don't have bank accounts. Bitcoin could change that. Now let's talk about the banks and governments. How do they feel about Bitcoin? Well, they're not fans. Big banks like JP Morgan under Jamie Dimon have called Bitcoin a fraud and a scam. Governments are also hostile. They're creating their own digital currencies called CBDCs, which stand for central bank digital currencies. These are basically government-controlled versions of Bitcoin. The goal is to give governments more control over money. In conclusion, Bitcoin is more than just a new kind of money. It's a whole new financial system. It could give us the same kind of freedom that the Internet gave us when it comes to media. In the old days, TV networks and newspapers controlled what we saw and said. But now, anyone with an Internet connection can publish and consume news from anywhere in the world. Maybe Bitcoin can do the same for money. Maybe it's the start of a new era where money is open, borderless, and fair. This is a big topic, and we barely scratch the surface. If you want to learn more, check out future videos. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Like and subscribe. It will really help a lot in making this videos for you. Thank you in advance.